If there's a God, why doesn't he stop babies from getting tortured? Why is there war? Why are these bad things happening? Supposedly, he's all powerful. Why isn't he stopping the bad things from happening? Let's talk about God. This is a good way to lose followers. So I'm getting ready right now. I wanted to talk about how I went from being a raised Jewish person to an atheist, to an agnostic, to a I don't believe in anything in the universe is horrible, to I'm now spiritual and the word God doesn't trigger me anymore, but I have a completely different view on what God is. So this is my viewpoint. It doesn't have to be your viewpoint. I was raised Jewish. I have a lot of childhood trauma, but my grandparents raised me traditionally Jewish. I had a bat mitzvah. I could probably do a whole service in Hebrew. Couldn't tell you what I'm saying, but I could do the whole service. I'm a really creative person, and that is not a very spiritual religion in my opinion. I couldn't connect with it. I didn't understand that they were talking about God. I guess I knew they were talking about God, but God didn't even occur to me as someone who loved me, or I don't know. I just feel like Judaism is missing what Christianity has, which is more loving. Anyway, I found that out as a kid. I went to church with my friends, and they were singing and having so much fun, and I was like, whoa, this is God? I thought God was something boring you did every Saturday. So fast forward to becoming a teenager. I didn't even think religion at all, for at least probably 10 years. It didn't even occur to me. I was just trying to I just dripped all my foundation on my sink. Oh well. I was just trying to be free, because I felt really trapped as a kid. I felt like I just wanted to drive and have an adult life. I was a kid who wanted to grow up too fast. My childhood was not existent. So then my grandma passed away. My grandma raised me. She was like my mom, and I went into a downward spiral, completely. Depression. We had a million life changes. We moved from LA to Vegas, and it was just, it was a lot of life changes at once, and I was numb completely. I had just had a baby. My last baby was born 2 months after my grandma died, and I was just spiritually, I feel spiritually I was non-existent, but physically I barely existed. I didn't even eat. I didn't sleep. The thing that woke me up was when my baby got sick, and it was horrible. And that made me kind of wake up. I need to change something. My life is downward spiraling, and I have 3 kids, and I gotta live for a long, long time. I was coping with alcohol. I was drinking a bottle of wine a night, and it was not sustainable. I ended up with a fatty liver from eating exorbitant amount of cookies. I was eating cookies. I wasn't eating food. It was really bad. I weighed 55 pounds more, and it was literally only because my pancreas was just trying to catch up with all of the alcohol and sugar that I was consuming to cope with my emotional state. So eventually I got shingles after I had my 3rd baby. 80-year-old ladies get, but my immune system was so horrible. I got shingles, and then I was like, okay, gotta do something different. So I went to therapy. And that was the best idea I ever had. It didn't fix me overnight. It took 3 years of going to therapy literally almost every week. So I learned in therapy that you need to know your emotions, because your emotions are a guidance system. My therapist, I went through 3 therapists. You find the therapist that works for you. I had a gap in my therapy because I was I'm doing better. I got to focus on my life. Because I was losing weight. I was getting healthier. I was setting boundaries in my personal relationships, because that's really where I was really struggling. I was self-sacrificing and saying yes to things that I wanted to say no to. And I just lost myself in motherhood, basically. So let's get back to God. Where does God come into this whole situation? So during my gap in therapy, I actually ended up on a spiritual path. Basically, during the pandemic, I started having a lot of emotional releases. I was literally crying on the floor. I was having all of these realizations this life is not the life that I wanted to live. Why am I living a life I didn't want to live? I regret a lot of decisions that I made. It was really hard. It was a complete breakdown. But if you've ever heard of the dark night of the soul, it's what happens before you awaken. It's the caterpillar stage before the butterfly, and I was completely melting into my caterpillar stage, but I also was following my intuition, and my intuition was guiding me on a path to realizing that God is not some guy outside of me judging me. It was actually the energy that's beating my heart and allowing air to flow in and out of my lungs. And there is this eternal energy, omnipresent, omniscient, everywhere energy that is God. And God is not judging ya. So I also started to meditate, and I realized that I am not this body and I am not this mind. So if I am not this body and I am not this mind, who am I? You go down that rabbit hole, you find out a lot. I didn't realize these things intellectually. I realized these things experientially. When you meditate, you basically come into a state of okay, I am here. Now And that is. That's basically what you realize. You've probably heard people say, like, be here now. And be here now, be present. Let go of the future and let go of the past, because the past is keeping you depressed and the future is keeping you anxious. And if you really think about it, that's really how it is. So back to God. I realized that I was always looking for God outside of myself, or I was assuming that God was outside of me because it seems like the universe is outside of you. But when you go into meditation and you go down the rabbit hole, like with Zen Buddhism, and I don't know, I've just gone down so many metaphysical rabbit holes, and also near-death experiences. If you've ever gone down that rabbit hole, there's actually a full-on scientific study from the University of Virginia on near-death studies and reincarnation. So it's not all woo-woo spiritual stuff. But when you go down that rabbit hole and you realize that life is actually not what you thought it was, that death is not what you thought it was, that there's a possibility that death is not the end, so then this life is not, you need to like YOLO, it's like you need to work on yourself. So back to God. The word God triggered me so badly for so many years. Dry shampoo fixes everything. It triggered me for flipping years, because if there's a God, this is me in 2008, channeling Ashley in 2008. If there's a God, why doesn't he stop babies from getting tortured? Why is there war? Why are these bad things happening? Supposedly, he's all powerful. Why isn't he stopping the bad things from happening? So what 2008 Ashley did not realize is that God is all powerful and omnipresent, but he's not a genie in the sky, because he gave you his super genie powers too. Sounds insane. God gave us free will. So human beings are the reason the world is ugly. In the Bible, I know the Bible is also a triggering subject, but the Bible was edited down. Look up Library of Alexandria burning, and you will go down a rabbit hole about enlightenment and knowledge and truth, and how the Vatican, and there's a whole conspiracy about stopping people from knowing the truth about themselves. And I 100% believe that there is some sort of narrative going to keep people in fear, because when you are in fear, you're not able to be in love, and love is our biggest powerful property as a human. Property? So yeah, I was just called to tell everybody my opinion on God, because who cares? I'm probably gonna lose some followers now just because literally the word God is just triggering, because we've been beat into our freaking minds that God is judging you, that you need to be a better person. Well, yeah, we all know we need to be better persons. We all have a conscience. It's a God-given mechanism. It's the, hey, I know I'm doing something bad, so now I feel guilty about it. So what we need to learn to do as human beings is love more, be present. Even Jesus was manifesting things, so you can go down that rabbit hole. That's fun. He turned water into wine. He did it by seeing everything as connected and as whole already. He healed people by seeing them as a fractal of God. He said, did I not say ye are gods? All these things that I do, you will do also, and more, or whatever. I don't know the whole freaking scripture. But yeah, he also said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move a flippin' mountain. And guess what? Faith is a secret to manifestation. Feeling is the secret. Neville Goddard. If you guys have any questions about metaphysics, God, or anything that comes up when I'm talking all my nonsense, feel free to comment down below, and I will definitely make a video response, because I just want to bring this conversation into the light, because I'm sick of feeling like I can't say the word God. Because you know what? God is helping me a lot right now. I think the world needs more God. And I don't mean the God that's judging you. I mean the God that we all have in our hearts, and the God that gives us the free will to love each other. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful day.